through the remote cabin as thick snowflakes blanketed the landscape. Inside, a group of friends sought refuge from the storm, their laughter and warmth a stark contrast to the frigid darkness outside. As the night wore on, the wind intensified, creating an ominous symphony of creaking timbers and distant moans. Despite their attempts to stay cheerful, an unease settled among the friends. "I'll go check the generator," Mark volunteered, grabbing a flashlight. He disappeared into the blizzard, leaving the others in anxious silence. Minutes stretched into an hour, and Mark hadn't returned. Concern etched their faces as they donned coats and ventured into the biting cold. The snowfall had intensified, erasing any trace of Mark's path. "Mark!" they yelled, their voices swallowed by the relentless storm. Panic crept in as they scoured the area, but there was no sign of him. Returning to the cabin, they found the generator working, casting flickering light around the room. Uneasy glances were exchanged as they debated their next move. As they huddled together for warmth, strange sounds began echoing from the attic. Footsteps, soft and deliberate, pierced the silence. Heartbeats quickened as fear consumed them. "We should investigate," Sarah whispered, her voice quivering. Reluctantly, they ascended the creaky stairs, the feeble light of their flashlights barely cutting through the darkness. Upon reaching the attic door, a freezing gust of wind rushed past them, slamming it shut with a resounding thud. Trapped in the attic, their breaths visible in the icy air, they stumbled upon an old chest. Inside lay weathered photographs of a family, their eyes hauntingly familiar. Among the pictures, they found one of themselves, taken just hours ago. The realization hit them like a blizzard's sudden fury. They were not alone in the cabin. Someone, or something, had been watching them. With trembling hands, they heard a faint scratching behind the walls, and a chilling voice carried by the wind whispered, "You're not leavin'." Desperate, they braved the storm again, fighting against the blinding snow and relentless winds. Eventually, they stumbled upon Mark's motionless figure, buried under a snowdrift. In a final act of survival, they carried him back to the cabin, but the door slammed shut behind them, sealing their fate. As the blizzard raged on, their screams merged with the wind's howls, unheard by the world beyond the storm's icy grasp. In the heart of a thick pine forest stood a remote cabin, its windows frosted over as the snowfall intensified. Inside, a group of friends sought refuge from the storm, their laughter echoing through the wooden walls as they played games and shared stories by the crackling fireplace. As the night deepened, so did the snowdrifts outside. The winds howled like tormented spirits, and the trees groaned under the weight of the snow. One by one, the lights flickered and died, leaving the cabin cloaked in an eerie darkness. Unease settled among the friends as strange noises echoed outside, a scraping against the walls, whispers carried by the wind that sounded like distant voices pleading for help. They dismissed it as their imagination running wild in the midst of the storm. But when they tried to leave, they found the door stubbornly jammed shut, as if held by an unseen force. Panic crept in as they realized they were trapped. In the flickering candlelight, shadows danced along the walls, taking on sinister shapes that seemed to move of their own accord. As the hours passed, their camaraderie dissolved into fear and suspicion. Whispers of ancient legends about the woods and tales of a lost soul haunting the area circulated among the group. Each passing minute felt like an eternity, the storm raging on outside and their nerves fraying with each unexplained sound. Footsteps thudded on the creaking floorboards, yet no one was moving. A chill permeated the air, causing their breaths to mist in front of them. And then, a voice, a ghostly whisper that seemed to come from the very walls themselves, spoke words that froze their blood. "We are not alone." Terrified, they huddled together, trying to make sense of the inexplicable events unfolding around them. But the night held onto its secrets, and the storm showed no signs of abating. Shadows darted in the corners of their vision, and the feeling of being watched grew stronger. Just as dawn broke, the storm relented. The friends, shaken but alive, cautiously pried open the door, greeted by a serene, snow-covered landscape. They hurriedly left the cabin, never looking back, haunted by the inexplicable events of that night, a night where the boundary between the living and the unknown had blurred in the relentless fury of the snowstorm. Deep in the heart of a dense forest stood a rustic cabin, isolated from civilization. A group of friends had planned a cozy weekend getaway, seeking refuge from the chaos of the world. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the skies darkened, and snow began to fall in thick, swirling flakes. Inside the cabin, laughter and warmth filled the air as the friends kindled a crackling fire and settled in for the night. But as the snowfall intensified, so did the unease creeping into their hearts. Hours passed, and the storm raged on, the howling wind battering against the cabin walls. Shadows danced ominously in the flickering firelight, casting eerie silhouettes across the room. Suddenly, the power flickered and died, plunging them into complete darkness. Nervous laughter turned to hushed whispers as they fumbled for flashlights, trying to dismiss the growing sense of dread. Knocking sounds echoed from somewhere outside, faint at first, then growing louder and more persistent. Each knock seemed to reverberate through the cabin, sending shivers down their spines. One brave soul ventured to look out the window, but the snow fell so heavily that visibility was reduced to near zero. However, in the fleeting moments of clarity, they glimpsed something. Someone. Standing just beyond the tree line, barely visible in the snowstorm's fury. Fear gripped them all, a tangible presence in the cabin, as they locked doors and barricaded windows, unsure of what lurked outside. Whispers of legends about the woods, tales of lost souls and wandering spirits, crept into their minds, fueling their terror. Throughout the night, strange noises echoed, scratching at the door, faint whispers carried by the wind, and footsteps crunching through the snow around the cabin. They huddled together, their nerves frayed by the relentless storm and the